Do you know what lost media is? According to Rika, lost media is media that was lost to time and can no longer be found anywhere. Maybe a game you played as a child and never saw again. Maybe a TV show that was never rerun. Rika knows this because she works at a shop called Accord that specializes in selling or renting items considered lost media, for prices that aren't exactly fair. And besides, she's also a very pretty clerk, but also slightly suspicious. Just like all the products she sells or rents, if I were you, I wouldn't buy anything there, but I don't think it hurts to know what happened to those who had the courage to rent or buy something from there.
But will you be able to resist your curiosity?
Will you regret being curious? We'll see. The new shop, Lost Media Shop Accord, catches that woman's attention. She's curious and decides to check it out. To her, it looked like any video rental store. Rika then asks if there was anything the customer had seen in the past and never managed to see again. Actually, there was one show she'd seen in childhood, but she doesn't even remember the name today. The customer remembers that anime as a pretty ordinary magical girl show, where good defeats evil in the end. Today she even wonders if the show ever existed, but Rika assures her it did. She even says the show is called Magical Girl Sarah. Rika explains the show was only aired on TV once, but that single airing was enough to make the customer want to see it again. Rika said she had the recording of the show's final episode in her hands, but she was charging a lot to rent it. As much as the customer wanted to know how the show ended, she didn't have the money to rent it, nor even a VCR. Rika then offers to let her watch it in the shop. She would charge less and already had a sofa and a VCR ready to use. So, the affordable price and the curiosity win the customer over, and she goes to watch the famous final episode of Magical Girl Sarah. Final episode, goodbye cupcake. Sarah's boss says it's time for her to say goodbye to her friends and return to the magical world. During her time on Earth, Sarah met Handol's family and learned about loving others and being kind to everyone. Sarah then decides to prepare one last surprise for her friends. Cupcakes! She'll bake cupcakes and give them to her friends. While the cupcakes were cooling on the windowsill, a suspicious girl from the Dark Kingdom, Kiki, arrives. Kiki seems to dislike Sarah and decides to spoil the cupcakes, using the hallucinatory fruit. The next day, Sarah gives the tampered cupcakes to Handol's family. Handol's family seems very friendly, and they're delighted by the surprise. They accept the cupcakes and soon start eating. But the effects of Kiki's fruit start to show. Sarah is very happy they like the cupcakes. Her eyes even widen with joy. Sarah's eyes look very happy. All three of them. The couple then tries to flee from Sarah. Sarah doesn't understand what is happening. Handol comes into the room and decides to try one of Sarah's cupcakes. Sarah tries to stop Handol from eating it, but it's too late. Handol no longer recognizes his friend Sarah. Only a grotesque creature, Sarah is then expelled from Handol's house. As she flees, she remembers that she also gave cupcakes to her school friends. Sarah tries to stop her classmates from eating the cupcakes, but it's too late. The classmates have already stopped seeing Sarah. They only see a monster, and they try to deal with it with violence. Sarah runs away with a wounded heart, hurt that she is being mistreated by her very friends. Sarah then decides to use her magical powers to fix the situation. She calls on her magic to make everyone see the real Sarah, not the monster illusion. But the magic fails. Sarah remembers that her magic only exists because of the love she receives from her friends. But since everyone only sees her as a monster, she has no magic at all. The story then moves to the next day at the children's school. Kiki goes to spy on Sarah and the other kids. The children still don't know what happened to Sarah. They are worried they didn't see her the day before. Kiki is amused. Suddenly, one of the children goes to check if someone is there, and he ends up finding Sarah. Kiki is grabbed by the boy. She also doesn't understand what is happening. Kiki concludes that the illusion fruit swaps good for evil and evil for good. That's why the children see her as Sarah. Back to Sarah. She is badly hurt from the fall she suffered earlier. Sarah returns to Handol's house. She cries, praying that they will recognize her as Sarah. But the prayers don't seem likely to work. That family is already lost forever. Do you remember Sarah's kitten? It was gone. But that family wasn't satisfied with just killing Sarah's cat. They wanted more. In a moment of despair, a black heart appears in Sarah's chest. Hatred gave Sarah power, and she uses it. Now Sarah has passed the point of salvation, and she finally destroys the family she loved. Sarah has a mental breakdown over what she just did. Sarah finally concludes that Kiki is to blame for everything. Kiki will pay for what she did. Let's move to the next day. Kiki is walking with Sarah's former friends. Kiki was a being of darkness, but she was starting to enjoy the affection of these children. But Sarah appears to right what Kiki did to her. Sarah quickly dispatches those children. Kiki prepares for the duel. But just as Sarah lost the powers of good by being corrupted by evil, Kiki lost her powers of evil by being corrupted by good. Sarah uses a lightning attack on Kiki. Sarah is deeply resentful of Kiki. Determined to take revenge for those horrors, Sarah unleashes her final attack. At that moment, Kiki discovers remorse and feels bad for what she made Sarah suffer. Remorse causes Kiki to fully convert to the side of good. That mage from the beginning appears, disappointed by Sarah's fall. And this mage decides that Sarah must be eliminated. Sarah then begins to melt. Sarah is finally eliminated. The mage then grants the power wand to Kiki. And the show ends with a pretty message. You too can become a magical girl. The customer is terrified by where that show went. Rika comes to end the session and take payment. It's late and the customer is ready to go home. But the ending of that show has traumatized her. Unconsciously, her body works to erase those memories. And the customer no longer knows why she was even there. Rika then comments that the final episode of Magical Girl Sarah was never broadcast in Japan, only in Korea. And when it did air on TV, it was in a time slot hard for children to watch. And even the children who managed to see the show live ended up traumatized by the frightening content and have since forgotten the show's ending. But if someone wants to relive an old forgotten trauma, talk to Rika. That's one of the services offered at Lost Media Shop Accord.